I like this time of year. Don't you? But probably not for the same reasons. A lot of people celebrate fall. They really like the changing of the colors and the leaves and stuff. But I like this time of year because it's football season. And I'm a big East Carolina football fan. I mean, I grew up in Greenville. I've been a fan for a long time. I can remember going to the games in the late 60s and early 70s. And through the years, I've just been a fan. I went to school there. I can remember camping out overnight for tickets to go see East Carolina play North Carolina State. I can remember the first time we beat them. I mean, I'm a fan. I'm a true East Carolina fan. I love it. I try to get down there at least once a year to see a ball game. Sometimes it's difficult to do. Sometimes I don't make it. But, I try. But if I don't make it, I'm still a fan because really it's not required that you go to the game and cheer to be a fan. You can still be a fan without being there, right? And, I'm a fan of a lot of things. And it's easy to be a fan. Some of you may know what Facebook is. You may have heard of Facebook because on the internet. And you can be a fan of anything on Facebook. All you got to do is click a button. You can say, I like that. I'm a fan. I like that. I'm a fan. And it records and marks it down. If you go to my page, you'll see I'm a fan of all kinds of things. I like Larry the Cable Guy. I like ESPN. I like the Yankees. I like, all types of things. I'm a fan of a whole lot of things. And there's even a page on there that says, if you're a fan of Jesus, click like. He's got a lot of fans out there. I can tell you. I can't even keep up with the number every time I see it come around on my page. Every once in a while, somebody, if you're a fan, click like or share this message. Jesus has a lot of fans. And, and unfortunately, a lot of those fans feel like they're Christians, but they're really just fans. You see, there's a difference between a fan of Jesus and being a follower of Jesus. By our mere name, Christian means to be a follower, right? A servant to Christ, right? By our mere name, we're supposed to be followers. And Jesus has always had a lot of fans, whether on Facebook or throughout time. But we look back in the Gospels and we read, you hear a lot of folks who followed him around. They liked what he said. It sounded kind of good. And they liked watching him perform miracles. And that was good. I liked watching that. They'd show up for that show and stuff. But when things got kind of tough, they would usually, the numbers would kind of go down. All of a sudden people weren't quite the fan they thought they were. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. Are you a fan or are you a follower? It's kind of one of those defining moments where we need to kind of take a look, inner perspective. It's not for me to judge, but it's something for you to judge. Are you a fan or a follower? A lot of people think they're followers, and really the better way to describe them would be a fan, which is, best definition of a fan is an enthusiastic admirer, right? And so a lot of us are just fans, and we're not truly followers. We're going to dwell into that a little bit today in today's message. The message, I'll tell you, was inspired by the thoughts of Kyle Idleman, who wrote the book, Not a Fan. If you haven't read the book, it's a good book if you're looking for something to read. He's the pastor of Southeast Christian Church up in Louisville. It's a big mega church. Very good preacher. But he has I'll plug the book for you if you want. Not a Fan is the name of it. I read it. It's a good book if you want looking for something to read. But anyway, we'll go on from there. Now, enthusiastic admirer is what we call a fan. Now, some of us are just that. We think we're Christians, but in reality, we haven't sat down to really evaluate our situation. We need to sit down and have that DTR that we talked about last week a little bit, that defining the relationship, right? Where we're going to sit down and kind of look at what we are, what we do, and how do we act. Do we act more like a fan, or do we act more like a follower? Kind of like that DTR where we sit down and talk to someone we're dating. Is this a casual thing, or are we in for a commitment? Are we on the same page as God would have us to be, or are we kind of dancing to our own drummer? Are we in it for the benefits for us, or are we in it for what God would have us be in this relationship for? You see, God wants to be in a relationship with each and every one of you, but he wants a full relationship, not kind of I'm kind of in when it's convenient relationship. He's looking for all in. He's all in. Are you all in? Type of relationship. And if we look at the two types of people, we can see that someone who shows up for a football game and paints themselves purple or half purple and half gold and has a foam finger or a banner or a sign that says ESPN, that's a fan, right? And they're committed to that team, or at least as long as the seasons are good, they're committed, right? At least as long as things are going good, they're all in. You know, they have a bad season, maybe not. And they know a lot about the team. They can even give you stats. You know, I can tell you in 1991, we were 11-1. We lost to Illinois. We should never, bad call at the end of the game. We should never have lost that game. I can tell you but I've never been on the field. I never took one hit. Never went to one practice. Never had my legs cramp up from running too much. None of that. I know all about East Carolina football. And I know all about the players. But I don't know the players. You see the difference? You can know all about something, but not know it. You can know all about Jesus. You can know all the stories in the Bible. You can have all the verses memorized, and you have them marked and pinned in your head, and you can quote a verse at the drop of a hat. But the real question is, do you know Jesus? And there's a difference. There's a difference between knowing about something and knowing. I can say, I know you, or I know about you, or I know what the Gospels have told me about you. I'm just looking in this direction for no reason. Don't get Sometimes when I do that, people start feeling like he's throwing darts at me. But you don't know people. You know, I know people, but I don't know people. I know about people, but I don't know them. I don't know them personally. I don't know what they've been through. I don't know their whole life story. And what God's looking for is followers. He's looking for people who do more than just show up and cheer on Sundays. You know, if you even look at the way they're building churches nowadays, they build them almost like stadiums, don't they? The new big churches are almost like stadiums, so we can all show up and we can cheer. And I have the question: is it, you know, how committed are they there for the show, or are they there to worship? And sometimes, having been to the churches, I'm not real sure where one stops and the other one starts, and it's kind of confusing to me. And I can see how it's confusing to other people who are there, that their commitment level is kind of shallow at times, it seems like to me. That they're not really all in. They're just there as long as it's a benefit to them and things are going well. And all they got to do is show up and I'll sing and I'll put a little money in the plate and I'll leave and it's good. And that's all I need to do. And that's not what it's about. That's not what being a Christian is about. You know, church is a place we come to get refreshed, get a word from God, and to worship God. Right? The time we gather as a community, we worship. It's part of our relationship with God. But it's not the whole thing. It's not the whole thing. You see, there's a difference. Being a fan doesn't cost you anything. You can walk away at any time. When East Carolina has a bad season, I can cut the radio off or turn the TV off, and I don't even have to pay attention. I'll say, see you next year in the fall. And I can tune in, tune out, because I'm a fan. It doesn't cost me anything. I have nothing in it, no investment in it. Right? But when you're a follower, it costs you something. It changes. And you sit there and saying, I know, so wait a minute, the gospel's free. Salvation's free, right? Isn't that what we've been told? Is it? You've sat in many churches, is it free? Somebody out there has a pew Bible. Somebody turn to John 6, 28 and 29. And read me when you get there, read me what it says.
John 6.
John 6, 28 and 29.
Then said they unto him, What shall we do, that we might work the works of God? Jesus answered and said unto them, This is the work of God, that ye believe on him whom he hath sent.
So something is required. True? Something is required. What is required is that you believe in Jesus Christ. That's what it says right there. They're asking him, what do we have to do? What works do we have to do the work of God? So the work you have to do is you have to believe in who he sent, which is Jesus Christ. So something is required of you. You see, when you're a fan, nothing's required. You don't have to care about anybody. You just show up on Sunday. You don't have to serve. You don't help anybody out because you're just a fan. You're really just here for you, and you just come in to worship. And none of that's required. But you see, when you're a follower, you have to believe. And not a mental thing where I go through all the facts and I try to figure out, is this logically good or bad? Believing is something you feel in here. And you know, people who are believing, I could ask you why you believe, and it's really something that's hard to explain, isn't it? But you just know you believe. Something in here tells you it's right. Right? Something in here tells you. Faith is a hard thing to explain to people. Why do you believe that? Why would you ever believe that? I don't know. But I can just tell you it works for me. I can tell you that I believe with all my heart and everything that I am. It's about relationship. And when you get into that relationship with Christ, when you get in that relationship with God, you change. You are not the same person. You're not. It's just like when we were just talking about a little bit ago about having that defining moment. I picked on Albert last time. But you know when you ask, let me ask the men. This is just for the men. You women, you can listen. But you know when you asked, you fell in love with that special someone, you decided you were gonna ask her to marry you, right? Did your life change? Sure it did. Did your behavior change? Oh yeah, it definitely did, right? I mean, first off, you went out and bought a ring. I mean, you don't do that for strangers, right? You don't invest all that money in a ring for somebody you don't care about, right? So your behavior immediately changed, right? And then you started doing things that were pleasing to her, right? Because you wanted to make her happy. You wanted to do things that were pleasing to her, correct? And women in the same way, you made changes in your life, correct? It's not just about the men. The women make changes too. You're in a relationship. And because you're in a relationship, your life changes. It's different than being by yourself. Sacrifices are made, right? All of a sudden you do for the other. You serve the other person to some degree. And they serve you. That's the way it should work. You care about them and they care about you, right? That's what a relationship is. That's how relationships work. So if you're in a relationship with Christ, things change. You change. And probably what's happened is you first notice that things that were okay before, all of a sudden they're not okay anymore. Yeah, you know, I shouldn't be going. I don't think God would be real happy with me if I was doing that. I need to change a little bit. Right? Or maybe you need to change a lot. I don't know. That's you. But when we're in a relationship, we change. And all of a sudden, things that are important to God or to Christ are important to us. Serving other people becomes important. Taking care of those who can't take care of themselves becomes important. Right? We view things differently. We volunteer to serve others. Not because we have to, but because we get to, right? When you do things in a relationship, it's not because you have to do them. It's because you get to do them. Right? You have that privilege to help that other person out or to care about that other person. Right? And that is, as followers, what we're called to do. See, that's a real follower. It costs you something. Because when you're in that relationship with Christ, you change. And by changing, you've given up something. You're no longer free. Like if you were a bachelor, what? You could go out with the guys whenever you wanted to, right? Guys call, hey, poker tonight, man. Yeah. You don't do that anymore. No, without checking. Would you mind if I went over there for a few minutes? But we change, right? We change is who we are. And we really become better people when we're Christians, right? Because of what God intended us to be. To care about other people. You know, a Christian life should be marked by faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. You got it. I'm preaching to the wrong crowd. We need to make sure our daily lives reflect that. You know, we all are in a journey. And each of us is in a spiritual journey with God. And each of us is in a different place. And some people are just beginning. And some people have been in it for a long time, but have always been more of a fan than a follower. And they haven't grown very much. And if you really want to grow in your faith, and you really want to grow in your relationship, then you have to be all in. You can date for 50 years and really not know anybody. It's just somebody that's a convenience. Hey, you want to go out Friday? Because I ain't got nothing else to do. You know, that's basically what you're saying. Are you committed? You see, because when we're committed to bringing good to a broken world outside these four walls. We talked about that some last week. It's not about here. It's about what's out there that we have to change. Right? It's about the brokenness that's out there that we're responsible for. Bringing people to Christ. Because that's what followers do. Now, none of us are probably where we want to be in our journey. Is anybody here the perfect Christian? Because remember, this seat up here is for you. It's for you. You're sitting in the wrong seat. I just want to point that out. I'm not happy where I'm at. I'm always growing. God's always showing me new things, and He's showing me where my imperfections are that I need to work on. And you know, do I get mad too easily? Do things bother me that shouldn't bother me? He's always putting things in perspective for me, and I'm like, yeah, wow, no, wow. Got so much changing still to do, and I'm always working. He's always working on me. I'm a work in progress, always. And I think we all are. And it's okay not to be perfect. Being a Christian never meant you were perfect. Please don't ever think that. It means you're a work in progress. We worship a perfect God, but we're not perfect. And so we're still going to make mistakes, and that's okay. But we need to be moving towards that better relationship, a closer relationship. We're not here just for the benefits. We're not here to get that ticket into heaven. That's not what it's about. It's not life insurance that you're going to use one day in the future. It's about a working relationship now. And how do we increase that? We spend time, quiet time. We spend time in prayer. And not just a list prayer, you know, where you go to God and you say, these are my wants, and I expect them by Friday if you could, Saturday at the outside. So, you know, we need to go to God and spend time in prayer in a real conversation. If you were having a conversation, if you were dating someone and all they did is come to you and say, hey, you know, I need you to pick up my laundry, and could you cook me dinner, and I need this and I need that, and by the way, my car needs to be cleaned out on the inside too, if you could get to that. If all I told you was all the things I wanted, and I said, and I'm going to play poker with the boys. See ya. What kind of relationship do you think I would have?
A very short one.
A very short one, that's it. That's not a very good relationship. Now think about it in perspective of your relationship with God. If you're going to say, God, I need this, this and this, this and this, and I got to go, God, I'm busy right now. You ain't got no more time for you. It's the same thing, folks. You need to spend some quiet time with God. Carve a little niche out of your day. He's giving you a whole day. Just give him a little bit. And you pray. Listen for answers. You ever ask questions and never listen for the answer? Are you one of those people that just and then you never listen to hear what the answer is? There's a blessing in silence. Not just when children are around. It works for adults too. And parents, you're like, why did I teach that child to talk? I don't understand. I was begging them to talk for 2 years, and I wish they would just be quiet for 5 minutes. But it's about your relationship. And it's a communication thing. Communication's not a one-way thing. It never works that way, does it? I've never met a relationship that works when only one person talks. Somebody's going to be miserable. I'll tell you that. It's two-way. You have to talk and you have to listen. That's how we grow. And then you have to respond. Right? If you feel God's telling you to go teach a Sunday school class, then go teach that Sunday school class. If you feel like He's leading you to talk to that coworker about going to church, then do so. You know, whatever He's talking to you about, because what He talks to you about and what He talks to me about are probably two different things. I don't pretend to know your life or be in your life because I'm not, any more than you're in mine. So that conversation, that relationship is personal between you and God. It's personal. And we're all on a different level. And we're all growing. And I don't know where you're at. If you were new to the church, I said, well, maybe God's talking to you about coming to me and baptized and coming into a relationship. But I think most folks here are already in that relationship, as far as I know. So what's He talking to you about today? How do we grow from here? How do we become closer? How do we take this relationship to the next level? How do we? That's for each of you to understand. That's your homework. That's something you have to work on. Because, see, I can't develop a relationship for you. That's a relationship. A relationship is a two-person thing. We have a relationship as a church. And I think we have a pretty good relationship as a church. But again, there's always room for improvement, right? So always things we can knock down. But this week, as you go throughout the week, I want you to kind of have a DTR. You know, sit down, think about it. Am I a fan? Do I just show up at church to be entertained? Do I just show up at church because it makes me feel good? Waiting for the next miracle to happen? Kind of like the folks of those days. Maybe Jesus will feed us this week. I don't know. Or do I show up because I want to be worshipped? I mean, I want to not be worshipped. Wow. But because I want to worship. Because I want to worship an awesome God who just does so much for me every day. Because I want to be with like-minded people. Because I want to enjoy their fellowship. Because I want to enjoy time with them. You know, why do you show up? Are you a fan or a follower? It's just a question. Something to think about. Something to chew on. And ultimately be answered by you. I pray that you're a follower. I hope we don't have a lot of fans here. I'll be signing autographs after. In all seriousness. Pray about it this week. Think about it this week. Spend time in contemplation of where you're at and where you want to be. And pray that God moves you in the direction He would have you move. Amen? Amen. Our hymn